hiking Mount Lowe and Mount Markham in the Angeles National Forest. Parking is at Eaton Saddle, which is about 2.3 miles from the Red Box Junction off Angeles Crest Highway, and from there I form a loop around Mount Lowe. The difficulty rating for the hike is moderate. The hike begins. As I pass the gate, right from the start, the view of Mount Markham is like a punch in the face of dramatic scenery. Near the start is also the Mueller Tunnel. Fortunately, as I got close, I can see that taggers certainly came here before I did. Seeking the light at the end of the tunnel. Then another quick view of Mount Markham. Continuing to the saddle between Mount Lowe and San Gabriel Peak. Arriving at the saddle and heading up towards Mount Lowe. The trail parallels Mount Lowe roadway before heading uphill. Mount Lowe then comes into view. This time the trail rises to a saddle between Mount Lowe and Mount Markham. Reaching the saddle and taking a left to go to Mount Markham first. The trail begins to narrow into a summit use trail. This also features some bushwhacking as I go. Pausing to observe the climb ahead. The use trail continues to climb up the slope. Starts to level out near the top. Approaching the summit. And then I was on the summit of Mount Markham. The Summit 360. Elevation 5,742 feet. This is also the highest point on the hike. The summit register. The summit shot. Then it was time to head back down to the saddle. Meanwhile, there was some slow going down the steep drop. Back at the saddle with Mount Lowe and continuing straight. Eventually a sign is found at a junction. To the right is the Summit Use Trail. Therefore, I went right to head up Mount Lowe. The gradual climb has some nice views towards San Gabriel Peak. Approaching the summit. Making a left to find the high point. Although I was officially there, the celebrated high point is just a little bit further down. Once reaching it, I realized that I was actually on the summit of Mount Lowe. The Summit 360. Elevation 5,606 feet. Thaddeus Lowe had intended to build a rail line to this point and include a hotel. However, it was never extended to here. Even unfulfilled history is still history. There's some viewing tubes up here. Departing the summit to continue the loop. Leaving the summit trail and back on the loop. To the south of Mount Lowe is a great deal of recent fire damage. Before long, I was passing right through it. Making a left on Mount Lowe motorway. The plan at this point was to leave the loop to extend towards Inspiration Point. However, the area was still closed due to the fire damage. Since I had to stay out, I only imagined what it would look like. I imagined that I would be walking down a burned dirt road to the observation point. Once there, I would imagine finding it heavily damaged. However, hopefully still intact. However, my imagination could never conclude that the viewing tubes would be damaged. It's good to have a vivid imagination, though. But fortunately, I avoided penalties by staying out. Maybe next time I can come back and see it all. Meanwhile, the rest of the loop is payback time, with the seemingly unending climb back to the parking area. I avoided side trails by sticking to the road. I made a sharp turn at the junction with the hike to Brown Mountain. Closing out the loop while approaching the western slope of Mount Lowe. And then I officially close out the loop at the saddle between San Gabriel Peak and Mount Lowe. This meant that I had one more pass through the Mueller Tunnel, just one last time. The Jaggers marked up this side as well. It's still cool passing through this tunnel though. On the other side, one last look at Mount Markham. And then it was mission accomplished. The hike in review. The hike starts at Eden Saddle. From there I pass through the Mueller Tunnel. From the San Gabriel Peak Saddle, I turned left and went up Mount Markham. Next, I went up Mount Lowe. Afterwards, I formed a loop around the mountain before heading back to the start. And then it was mission accomplished.